The man accidentally lifted a stone. When he peered into the hole beneath it, he immediately shouted in excitement. Hearing his voice, his companions quickly rushed over. They gathered near the cave, set down their equipment, and immediately inserted a gas pipe into the opening. When they turned the valve, the entire cave was instantly filled with thick yellow gas. As the smoke slowly cleared, the man crawled carefully to the edge and looked inside. The scene that followed left everyone frozen in horror. A massive swarm of spiders began crawling out of the cave. After they caught all the spiders, one of the men picked up a knife from the ground and slowly walked toward his injured companion. A week later, Kaleb entered a convenience store, planning to buy a birthday gift for his landlord, Claudia. But when he stepped into the owner's storage room, he was instantly captivated by the reptiles kept inside. The owner showed him a pair of earrings, while Kaleb's attention fell on a spider from the desert. Seeing how fascinated he was, the shop owner decided to sell the spider to him, but warned that it was extremely venomous. Kaleb didn't care. He packed it up immediately.
Let's go.
Kaleb was a small-time sneaker reseller, but because of a leaking pipe, several of his shoeboxes had been damaged. His friend Matthews told him it didn't matter as long as the shoes were fine, since customers only cared about the shoes themselves. But Kaleb insisted on replacing the damaged shoebox. When he returned home, he noticed the power cord to his reptile tank had come loose. To keep the temperature stable, he quickly plugged it back in. Kaleb was a passionate insect enthusiast whose dream was to collect rare venomous creatures and someday open his own reptile exhibition. He first took the customer's shoes out of the damaged shoebox, then pulled the spider he had just bought from his bag. Staring at the rare creature in front of him, he decided to give it a new home. He picked up an empty shoebox, filled it with tissues, and decided to use it as a temporary nest. After preparing everything, he slowly opened the spider's container. As soon as the spider was released, all the other reptiles in the room began acting restless, as if sensing a terrifying predator nearby, scurrying in every direction. Kaleb didn't notice any of this and calmly poured the spider into the shoebox. When he was done, he left the room and warned his sister Manon not to unplug the power cord again. He prepared the earrings he had just bought, planning to go celebrate Claudia's birthday. When he reached the 6th floor, he ran into one of his clients, Tumani. After a brief greeting, Tumani complained that his shoes were completely worn out and demanded that Kaleb deliver the new pair as soon as possible. Kaleb explained that the shoes had arrived and promised to bring them over the next day once he found a new box. When he saw Claudia, he handed her the earrings as a gift. After putting them on, Claudia said she loved them, told him and his sister not to worry about the rent, and gave him a warm hug. Meanwhile, in the reptile room, something unsettling was happening. The spider had bitten a hole through the shoebox and was slowly crawling out. When Kaleb returned later, he found that his sister had unplugged the power cord again. He reconnected it quickly, but by then, the spider was nowhere to be seen. He immediately searched around, hoping it hadn't frozen to death, but after looking everywhere, he still couldn't find any trace of it. He took out all the tissues from the shoebox, one by one, and finally discovered a large hole at the bottom. Panicked, he started searching every corner of the room, hoping to spot the spider. He looked under furniture, along the walls, even inside the trash can, but it had completely vanished. Kaleb began to panic because the shop owner had told him this spider was highly venomous. Then, when he lifted one of his insect display cases, he was startled to find a fresh cocoon inside. He stared at it, thinking maybe the spider had wrapped itself up. Though unsure, he placed the cocoon inside the shoebox, kicked it under the bed, and hurried out. He still had to deliver the shoes to Tumani, and with that, he rushed out the door. When Kaleb arrived at the underground parking lot, he took out the pair of limited edition sneakers. Before he could even introduce his product, Tumani was already eager to try them on. Just then, Claudia's son, Gilles, walked over. He accused Kaleb of still being involved in shady business and warned him not to sell illegal goods in his room, or he would kick him and his sister out of the building. But Tumani didn't care about any of that. He called his dog and hurried home to try on the shoes. Once home, he tossed aside his old sneakers and eagerly put on his new limited edition pair. But the moment his foot slid inside, a sharp pain shot through his skin. He quickly took off the shoe to see what was inside. Under the dog's gaze, he quickly smashed the spider to death. He bent down to check the shoe again, but the next second... Meanwhile, in Kaleb's room, some of his friends were admiring his reptiles, unaware that danger was slowly closing in. Kaleb noticed his sister and her best friend entering the room, and feeling uneasy, he quickly forced everyone to leave. After they left, he stuffed a silk scarf under the door crack to block it. After being bitten by the spider, Tumani began to lose his mind. Blood streamed from his eyes, and his skin erupted in blisters. The horrific sight frightened even his dog, which hid in the corner trembling. Seeing his phone ringing nonstop, Tumani tried desperately to reach for it. At that moment, in the hallway, Tumani's neighbor, Mr. Benzaoui found Jordy and the others.
Dites-moi, les enfants, vous savez pas où le petit Toumani? Il y a son chien qui aboie depuis une demi-heure.
When they reached Toumani's door, they found a crowd of neighbors gathered outside, all convinced that something terrible had happened. Inside, the dog was barking frantically. To prevent further danger, Gilles kicked the door open. The scene before them instantly terrified everyone. Soon, police arrived and carried Toumani's lifeless body away. No one could understand what had happened, but the police issued a warning. From that moment on, the entire building would be sealed off and no one was allowed to leave. Elsewhere in the building, the janitor, Mrs. Zhao, had just finished cleaning. She returned to the supply room and found the entire place covered in spiderwebs. Disgusted by the filthy sight, she walked out immediately. Moments later, Mrs. Zhao came back wearing a scarf around her face, holding 2 cans of powerful insecticide, and began spraying heavily into the corners. But deep inside the ventilation ducts, thousands of spiders were already breeding. In another apartment, Lila was washing her face in the bathroom when, due to the insecticide, hundreds of spiders started crawling out of the air vent. Seeing the vent cover fall to the floor, she tried to put it back in place. Before she could fix it, she slipped and fell. As she complained about her bad luck, she suddenly noticed the towel hanging by the door start to move. Terrified, she ran into the bathroom to hide and called out for her boyfriend. Jordy rushed in after hearing her screams. When Lila told him there was a huge spider, he grabbed a glass from the table, intending to catch it alive. Following Lila's directions, Jordy finally spotted the large spider clinging to the wall. Lila begged him to kill it, but Jordy said he would never harm any living creature and nervously tried to trap it under the glass instead. Hearing the commotion, the others gathered outside the bathroom door. When they saw the enormous spider, they all urged Jordy to kill it immediately. But he refused to listen. After another failed attempt to catch it, the spider ran to the floor and crawled under the sink. As everyone shouted for him to act, Jordy finally grabbed a broom and began striking at it. In a frantic moment, he hit the spider with a towel and stomped on it several times. They thought it was finally dead, but when Jordy slowly lifted the towel, they quickly sealed the bathroom door tightly with tape and towels. Jordy turned to Kaleb and demanded to know why there was such a huge spider in the building. Realizing he couldn't hide the truth any longer, Kaleb confessed that he had bought a venomous spider and lost it. He explained that there was only 1 cocoon left, which he kept inside a shoebox, and handed the box to Jordy. Meanwhile, Mrs. Zhao finished cleaning the storage room and picked up a dead spider from the floor to inspect it. But suddenly, she heard strange noises coming from above. When she looked up, the ceiling was covered in thick webs. As a professional cleaner, she couldn't stand the sight. She climbed a ladder, opened the vent, and found the inside completely filled with spider silk. Back in Kaleb's apartment, the group sealed every hole and vent they could find, only to realize that the police had cut off both the power and the internet throughout the building. They decided to escape and report everything to the authorities once they reached safety. But Kaleb refused to leave. He insisted that since the infestation had started because of him, he had to warn everyone in the building before it was too late. Upstairs, Musa had no idea what was happening outside. He was at home doing bicep curls. Standing in front of the mirror admiring his perfect physique, he suddenly noticed something crawling across the wall behind him. Seeing such a huge spider, he quickly took off his shoe, ready to smash it. But in the blink of an eye, the spider had vanished. Meanwhile, Matthis and the others were going door to door, trying to warn all the neighbors in the building, but no one believed them. Kaleb kept pounding on Musa's door. Inside, Musa was frantically slapping his bed with a slipper, even crawling under the blanket, trying to find the missing spider. Just as he began to wonder if he had imagined it, he spotted a spider the size of a wash basin crouched beside his speaker. He slowly approached it, then raised his foot and kicked it hard. When Kaleb got no response after knocking repeatedly, he decided to alert the other residents first. But by that time, Musa had already been surrounded by countless baby spiders. Kaleb rushed down the stairs, knocking on every door he passed, trying to warn as many people as possible. When he reached Claudia's apartment and no one answered, he was forced to break in. After Kaleb and Matthis stepped back into the hallway, they saw Mr. Benzaoui next door walking out slowly. Matthis wanted to help him, but Kaleb stopped him, saying that Mr. Benzaoui had already been bitten by a spider. He explained that they would lay eggs inside him and that it was already too late. Helpless, the two told Mr. Benzaoui to go back to his apartment. After returning to his apartment, Mr. Benzaoui could no longer hold on. The floor was covered with spiders he had managed to catch. By now, every room in the building had been overrun, and the spiders had completely taken over the residents' bodies. A single spider brought into the building had caused an unimaginable catastrophe. Realizing the situation was out of control, everyone decided to flee immediately. But before they could escape, Gilles attacked them. He accused Kaleb of being responsible for Toumani's death and ordered everyone to stay put and wait for the police. Even though Kaleb tried desperately to explain, Gilles refused to believe him, convinced that Kaleb was hiding illegal goods in his room. When he entered Kaleb's apartment, he quickly found the shoebox lying on the bed. Meanwhile, the others began running downstairs as fast as they could. The stairwell was covered in thick webs, but after sprinting through, they finally made it to the ground floor. However, the moment they opened the door, the sight before them left everyone frozen in horror. They all stared in disbelief. Some wanted to turn back, but this was the only passage that led outside. Then, as the lights suddenly went out, Kaleb noticed something unusual. He realized that when the lights were on, the spiders were temporarily blinded. As long as they walked through the tunnel with the lights on, they could make it out safely. But the smart switch controlling the lights only stayed on for 1 minute at a time. After figuring this out, they decided that Manon would handle the light switch. She would wait until they crossed safely, then make a final run herself. Kaleb strongly objected, but considering her smaller build and speed, she was the only one capable of doing it. After Manon turned on the light, the others carefully stepped into the tunnel filled with webs. Once they made it across, they shouted for Manon to run. She pressed the switch again and dashed forward through the dense webs. But just as she was about to reach them, the lights suddenly went out. Kaleb tried to pull his sister toward him, but Manon was trapped in the sticky web. When she flicked on her lighter, she saw a massive spider slowly crawling right in front of her. After she managed to break free and run out, they immediately rushed toward the exit, trying to open the door and escape. By this time, the area outside the door had been completely taken over by the police, and there was no way to pull the door open. As the spiders crept closer from behind, they frantically pulled at the door. But to prevent anyone from escaping, the police threw a smoke grenade inside. Forced to retreat, they stumbled back through the hallway, slapping the spiders crawling all over their clothes. Then they suddenly realized someone was missing. Jordi had fallen behind. When Kaleb ran back up the stairs to look for him, Jordi was already trapped in a massive web, his body covered in spiders of all sizes, twisting helplessly in the sticky threads. Realizing there was no way to save him, and with more spiders falling from above, Kaleb had no choice but to run for his life, leaving Jordi behind in the stairwell. They rushed into a storage room, and Matthys tried to calm everyone down. He told them that if the first floor was blocked, they should head for the roof. Once they reached the top, they could start a fire to signal for help and force the authorities to let them out. Looking at the limited supplies they had, they prepared to run all the way up to the 15th floor. Matthys leaned forward cautiously to check the hallway outside. When he heard movement behind him, he quickly lit a flare and threw it into the stairwell. As soon as the light illuminated the walls, hundreds of spiders appeared, and Matthys froze in horror. Understanding the danger, he lit another flare and stepped forward slowly. The others followed him carefully, inching toward the end of the stairs. Just when it seemed like the plan was working, the flare suddenly went out. Panicking, Kaleb rummaged through the supplies, then pulled out a Molotov cocktail. He lit it and hurled it straight at the advancing spiders. Taking advantage of the brief chaos, they sprinted up the stairs as fast as they could. Matthys could only use the hand-cranked flashlight to slow down the spiders' pursuit. Seeing the spiders moving faster and faster, they had no choice but to run to the 5th floor to hide. Under Matthys' cover, everyone managed to get inside safely. Surrounded by tens of thousands of spiders, their hope of survival grew thinner by the minute. Matthys and his sister began planning another way out. Using the materials they had, they tied together makeshift ropes, hoping to climb down from the window. But before they could act, police officers were already climbing in through the window. Unsure whether they were infected, the police shouted for them to step back and stand against the wall. And just like that, they were detained by the police and taken down to the parking garage. Kaleb looked around at the officers spraying chemicals and the workers cleaning up piles of spider corpses, and he completely broke down. It turned out that the authorities had known about the infestation all along, but had chosen to sacrifice the building's residents. When the lieutenant came over, they demanded to know why no one had come to rescue them. The lieutenant coldly replied that everything had been done by protocol. The spiders multiplied too fast and carried deadly venom. To ensure the safety of the entire city, There was no way they could risk letting anything escape. As the lieutenant walked away, Kaleb received another devastating blow. Matthews had been bitten by a spider, and the venom was already spreading through his body. Determined to give the others a chance to survive, Matthews decided to open the basement door and release all the spiders, drawing the danger away from them. He took the chance to hide, then shut off the basement's power supply. As confusion spread among the police, Matthews ran out and slammed open the basement door. A massive swarm of spiders poured out, plunging the scene into chaos. Kaleb and the others used the panic as a chance to escape. But during their run, a bullet struck Kaleb. Fortunately, Manon immediately grabbed a nearby fire extinguisher and smashed the van door open. She then quickly pulled her brother inside and simply bandaged his wound. They thought they had finally found a safe place, but soon, several giant spiders began crawling across the shattered window. Just as they were about to climb inside, Lila started her car nearby and turned the headlights toward them, making the spiders quickly scatter away. Seeing Lila flashing her lights in the distance, Manon and Kaleb ran toward her. Dodging a hail of bullets, they finally reached the garage exit, but a gigantic spider blocked the road. To open the gate, someone had to get out and do it manually. Kaleb slowly stepped out of the car. Facing the monstrous spider, he told Lila to turn off the headlights. When the giant spider's vision returned, it darted away into the shadows. Kaleb successfully opened the parking gate, and the long-lost sunlight slowly shone inside. The disaster he had accidentally caused had taken the lives of everyone in the building. To honor the victims, their photos were displayed at the entrance. Then, under the watchful eyes of the entire city, the building was reduced to rubble. Kaleb gave up his dream of opening a reptile zoo and buried his obsession with it forever. When a spider crawled near him, he no longer reacted with excitement. Instead, he gently cupped it in his hands and released it back into nature.